Hello and welcome to Connecting Jewish Grandparents, the Grand Plan podcast. I am thrilled that you're here with me in our weekly journey of looking at this week's Torah portion and what it means to be a Jewish grandparent, what this text teaches us about the power of Jewish grandparenting. And if we look along the chronology of where we are in the narrative of the Torah, this week's Torah portion is called Terumah, and it is about building the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And it's interesting to have it right now. I mean, that's when it is. But up until 2 weeks ago, the Torah consistently, week in and week out, was narrative, exciting Torah stories of our matriarchs and patriarchs, enslavement in Egypt, the sea splitting, divine revelation, and then last week in Mishpatim, you can listen to the recording of it, but it's a little bit of a less exciting directly, but because it's mitzvot, law after law. And if you want to see why it's powerful and beautiful and important, listen to last week's podcast. This week, it's about construction. It is 96 psukim, sentences, verses about building the tabernacle. I want to focus on the great significance of that. You might think, okay, the mitzvot, fine, the laws, that's the framework of Jewish life. But now we're on a construction project. What are the measurements? What goes where? How does it fit together? But you might not feel like I do on this. This is actually the ultimate moment of freedom because there is nothing, in my opinion, that's more freeing and more liberating than the creative process, right? It is the most B'Tselem Elokim. When we create something, we are most like the divine. When we look at the days of creation and what the Almighty does to create and sustain the world around us, and then getting to be like that, that we get to create something tangible that will exist in this world, I think it's the greatest gift. And that is the gift that he gives us this week in the outlining of the construction of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle, of the creative process. And includes a powerful pasuk beyond words, a sentence that says, "Ve'asu li mikdash," you will make this mikdash, this tabernacle, "V'shachanti betocham," and I will dwell within them. That when we have created this space, the Almighty will be resting among us. Powerful that the truth is you can listen to many podcasts, read text on it because it's such a powerful pasuk and people love to expound on it. What I want to expound on with you this week is not quite that. This week's Torah portion is 96 lines. Not the biggest, not the smallest. But what's really interesting to me is I keep talking about the Mishkan, about the tabernacle. And if I were to ask you, like, what was in the Mishkan, you would maybe be able to produce the really exciting things that were there. The menorah, right? The whole Hanukkah candelabra is described how it's going to be built, the 7 branches and what they looked like and the solid gold it was made from. The Aron HaKodesh, the holy ark, with its kruvim, its angels, these winged creatures on each side of it, that was the vessel that held the Aseret HaDibrot, the stones that came down from Har Sinai, from Mount Sinai. the lechem hapanim, the table that held the showbread, these most holy, holy Jewish artifacts, and how they are built, what they're going to look like, the wood in them and the gold that goes on it, and what goes where, and how beautiful they're going to be, all described in this week's Torah portion. It doesn't really help everyone listen to the podcast, but I'm holding my favorite Parsha book, and in it there are all these pictures of what it's going to look like and how it goes, and right, the menorah and the lechem hapanim, the showbread with the 12 pieces. It's amazing. So 96 psukim describing the building of the Mishkan. And then we're going to get to what I consider the big surprise. Half of these psukim, 48 of them, have nothing, I'm putting that in air quotes, to do with building these incredible holy vessels. Half of the sentences in this Torah portion are about the framework. The framework, the walls, the beams of acacia wood, the silver sockets, the curtains, the measurements, the exact instructions, how they line up together, how large each one is going to be, what the fabric is made of, how the fabric comes together. These are not glamorous. They are not holy vessels. They're just the walls. Half of the words of the holiest structure. Well, we can debate whether the Mishkan is the predecessor to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. So maybe that was the most holy, but you still understand where I'm going with it. As the Torah outlines it, half of it is about the wall, which feels like a letdown. But I think it's the main idea. Because without the walls, the vessels cannot stand. Holiness requires containment. If there's nothing around it, there's nothing protecting it, there's nothing supporting it, and there's no structure, and there's no support system. There's just some really amazing things there, exposed to the elements, and not safe, and not protected. The walls are really important. The Torah is telling us that in the amount of text that is dedicated to the physical framework structure that goes around the holiest objects that have ever been. So now let's get to how the words of Terumah relate to grandparents. We often think that the most important things we bring are our wisdom and our stories, our values, our Torah, our special moments with our grandchildren. These are holy vessels, and we love them, and we cherish them, and they sparkle and they glow. But what if the most important is not the holy vessels, but the framework? What makes a child feel safe in your presence? What makes your adult children and children-in-laws feel secure and not threatened and not undermined? It's not just, well, it's not your brilliance, and it's not your radiance, and it's not your intensity. It is structure. I want to make this point clear because I think it's just so crucial. What are the beams? What is the framework and the structure for a grandparent in the holiness of the relationship they are in their role as a grandparent? It's the respect for the parental authority. It's the clear boundaries. It's the emotional regulation, the self-regulation, the predictable warmth, the consistency, the non-reactivity. It's being the wall. It's being the structure that holds everything up, the consistency. These aren't flashy. It's not posted. It's not Instagram worthy. This is the safety. And the safety is what allows influence. Is what the Torah says. But modern psychology says safety precedes connection. I, you can put it into your own terms in many different ways, but it comes down to, oh my, what is it to have that consistency? What does that mean? And what does that look like? What is a wall other than just a barrier? It's not. I mean, it is a barrier too, but it's that support. It is that consistency, the structure. I'm trying to find notes I had on modern psychologists and what they have to say on the same piece of it, because it it isn't a new realization. Obviously, it's as old as the Torah. But modern psychologists are pulling at the same idea today because because it's what always has been and always will be, of the need for structure. The polyvagal language would say regulation precedes connection. And Bowen would say differentiation precedes healthy closeness. I think you probably have your own words around that, of what it means to you. I put in modern psychology because I think it's really important to understand the lenses that your children and grandchildren see that with. Mental health has become I don't know, the 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 thing of the modern generation. And your grandchildren are being raised with high sensitivity to boundaries. And your adult children and children-in-laws are protective and anxious about repeating painful moments and mistakes. And with those lenses of how they're seeing the world, the greatest gift that a grandparent can give is stability. When the structure is steady, the relationships can and will hold holiness. And without that structure, even the most beautiful wisdom can feel intrusive. Parashat Terumah could have been all about the gold and all about the holiness, because that is what it's about. Those are crucial elements, but those crucial elements are nothing without the beams and the sockets, without the structure and the framework. If you want the Shekhinah to dwell in your home and in your family, ask yourself, have I built a structure strong enough to hold it? Not just the moments of inspiration. Those are crucial, but you need the framework of safety. The walls come before the glow of the menorah. And sometimes the quiet beams are the holiest work of all. So this week, take some time to think about the walls, the structure, the framework you've built, and how you can strengthen it. In my weekly newsletter, if you don't get that, sign up. In the show notes, I give some practical tips for what to reflect on and how to make these walls as strong and as beautiful as they can be. So that in the coming weeks, we can talk about what I think you already know, which is what are your holy vessels and how do you make them shine? But first, we need to get that structure strong. Have a wonderful week.